and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. We are a show that loves to talk about everyone in college football, NFL, and everything else. We are continuing our conference preview series. This is, I believe, the fifth conference we are talking about now. This time we're doing the ACC, and we are joined by our guests from Gridiron Uncensored. Brendan and Trevor joined the show today. Guys, introduce yourselves.
No, you want to go?
Go ahead, Brendan.
Go ahead, Brendan. Being some spotty stuff right now.
Okay. So my name's Trevor. I'm one of the hosts of Gridiron Uncensored. We've been doing it for, this is our third season now. I can't believe it. It's been kind of a crazy ride. But yeah, we got into it. We love college football. We love all sports, really, honestly. But college football speaks to us, and we just enjoy doing it. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Brendan, another, me and Trev, we've been running it. Blake has been with us, but he's kind of stepped off for the moment. So Trev and I have just been running the show and, knocking out these previews, and it's been a grind. But yeah, this is the end of, I guess this is our second anniversary, per Twitter, so I appreciate them reminding because it all blends together. But no, it's been good, and getting to meet you guys and all the other, college football podcasts and, content creators and stuff that we've met along the way. It's been really cool, man. I've enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun ride. And I think that's been one of my favorite parts about the series is getting to go through every single conference, but also, go and show everyone that may not know about our community of podcasts, like what everyone's skill sets and what everyone has to offer, for sure.
Yeah, it's been really cool, man.
It's been pretty fun, all the different personalities. I mean, speaking more recently, we were able to link up with a couple of people that have been in the college football industry for umpteen amount of years, covering college football, and then we had the pleasure of being joined by one of the senior writers at On3 and Rivals. So I mean, it's been pretty fun on how we've been growing, and everything's been growing, and it just shows that if you guys do a lot of hard work, it'll show out. Absolutely. Eventually.
Yeah, 100%. So the ACC is a conference that has been very entertaining, very competitive throughout the years, but it faces a very critical 2025 season, I would say. They need to win some games. Plain and simple. The bowl performance this past year was not good for the conference, and I think it's critical for the future to have a good year. So we'll go ahead and with that lead and kind of jump in here, look at the tiers a little bit. And I think we have a little bit of surprise of this tier. Championship contenders. I just put Clemson up here. Are you guys surprised by that? How do you feel when you just see Clemson as contender? Do you think anyone else can
I approve of all I can say is I approve of this message. From everything that we covered and everything that I've been reading, it's really Clemson and then everybody else. At this point in time. Now, granted, we have not played one lick of college football yet, so that being said, it's all speculative. We are just going off of best guess and returning production and everything like that, but Clemson's got the most. They've got the most returning production. They're the most proven program as far as developing talent from the recruiting trail, and that's what they've done. I mean, they had like Brendan, you can correct me, or you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did like 3 or 4 transfer portal guys, and that was it.
3.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree with them being by far and away the favorite to walk away with the ACC championship, in my opinion, and be at least one of the representatives for the ACC.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Clemson, we know Dabo, we know the veteran quarterback returning. You have a lot of opportunities in the schedule to really show what you are, and it starts early. So no, I'm not surprised at them being the only one in like the championship contender category. Maybe I could see. I hate saying Miami because I think they're a loaded team, but maybe they could be up there. But I want to see it. I want to see. They were so close last year to being in the playoffs, and then they blew it. I want to buy in, but I just can't quite get there. Maybe I'll change my mind by the end of this. I don't know.
Yeah, and just the talent that Clemson has across the board too. Like this is really a lot of pieces coming together. It's been a couple rough reset years, kind of below standard, especially 2 years ago. And we kind of saw it all come together late in the year. They ended up winning the ACC and were at least competitive on the road in the college football playoff. I mean, Cade Klubnik, really good. They have first-round defensive linemen, great receivers. Like, this team is just absolutely loaded this year. Really, I mean, you guys can – I'll ask you here in a moment, like, what do you think about their championship hopes? Because it feels like in terms of getting Dabo's Tigers back into the championship conversation – they need to at least make the semifinals with this team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a team that, to me, it's natty or bust. Like the way that they're made up, all 80% returning production. I know not all production is good returning production, but for them, I feel like it's pretty dang close. And then they only had a 3-man portal class, but then you bring in just good talent on recruiting trail and just everything that they have. I think this is a natty or bust season. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost putting all chips in on them, man.
Yeah, Clemson is minimum. They should be in the semis. I mean, obviously, it will depend on the draw system, on who they actually draw on their playoff game. Assuming they win the ACC, we'll see on who they get paired with and how the final seeding goes at the end of the season. But all in all, I would say that they would be one of the favorites to make it to the semis. Now, once you get to the semis, I'm not so certain, depending on how they've looked all season, even though they have a veteran quarterback. Not all veteran quarterbacks are good.
I know you had
I've had my criticisms of Klubnik, but last year he played well. He managed the game a lot better than the season prior. So I'm looking for that next step to see the next level of maturity in a starting quarterback from Klubnik at this point. But that being said, I do think that there are far and away more talented. There are, in my opinion, I think there are about 5 or 6 more talented teams in the country. It's just whether or not they can survive the SEC and the Big Ten schedules and just kind of survive that gauntlet that they will have to go through, unlike Clemson. In my opinion, Clemson probably only has to really contend with, other than the LSU game at the beginning of the season, I would say 2 games that are really kind of red alerts, like be aware of these games, Clemson, because they could destroy you during the ACC schedule, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely those games at Louisville and Georgia Tech are kind of the ones that stick out. We'll talk about those 2 teams in a moment. I also think Clemson's a good test of what are we looking at in this day and age where we're looking at a good continuity, like good talent, lots of continuity with that good talent compared to, like, you look at a Texas, for example, lots of talent, maybe not as much continuity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, the continuity that Clemson is able to garner, just as far as the player perspective, they don't do much in the portal, so you're not having a bunch of guys coming in and out all the time. They're having youngsters being groomed all the way through their football system, which I think does create a more of a better culture overall for Clemson. But now is the time where that culture needs to prove that they've been doing it the right way, that you can get a championship still by only doing recruiting, essentially, and minimally using the transfer portal. This is the season where Clemson has to prove to the country that doing it this way can also win you championships.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a huge message to send if they did get it done.
It absolutely would. I know the fan base is ready for another one. They're hungry for it. And even they did tap in a little bit to the portal this year. Like Dabo saw some need and he filled it well. But they don't lose a lot of people either, and that's important too. So, like you mentioned, the continuity is there. You're not having a lot of massive roster turnover, and then this year you have so much coming back. The biggest indictment on them last year was, how do you hit or how do you play in the biggest games? Like we saw what happened to Georgia early. I felt like, after half when it was close, the wind just got kind of taken out of them. But then they were able to rebound. Obviously, they got in the playoffs. And then, that tough game against Texas, and they kept climbing back in it. They were there, man, but they just could not stop that run. Like it was one, they would score.
Could not stop the run. Couldn't get it done in the red zone either a couple times. Like, oh, they were hanging in there though.
If they can fix those couple things, that's why I'm really high on, because it's there. The potential is there. Just you got to square it away, get on your own way. Well, and they could win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess jumping on to our next category here, this is the could crash the playoff category. So this is teams that I don't think it actually pulled up.
Was the category there?
Here we go.
I was like, it popped up for a second and then it shot away.
I know, it was just like nope. So we're gonna be fighting technology tonight.
Part and parcel, man.
So they could crash the playoff tier. These are teams that look at and think they could have a really good year, make the ACC championship, probably looking more than at large to potentially make the playoff. But I guess we kind of talked about Miami a little bit, so that was a good lead in there. What do we think of Miami? We want to just see them prove it for once.
I like the roster talent. I mean, they killed the portal class again, but I mean that doesn't always mean anything. We've seen it, with Ole Miss is another one that crushes the portal talent, but they just can't finish. Whether it's coaching, I kind of think it is, or whatever. Maybe the players they're not fully bought in. Like I don't know. I feel like it's more of the former. Sometimes, just the moments it's big, or they get lax and then something happens. Like you mentioned, Ole Miss last year. Miami is the same way. They were on path to the playoffs and then you blow it. And it's like you cannot do that. So if you're trying to crash the playoff this year, yes, you did go out and get a quarterback that is a proven veteran. I know he had kind of rough season last year, with some turnovers, but there was also a lot of drop passes at Georgia too last season. So
it was a very weird year for Georgia in general.
It's just going to be an interesting setup. But I mean, the roster's loaded when you look at it. They've got good receiving threats. The defense is strong. You brought a new defensive coordinator to try and square it away. But it's like a lot of people have that feeling. If you couldn't get it done with Cam Ward, you're not going to do it with Carson Beck. And I kind of get that. I feel more about that with Oregon, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know, guys. Trevor, what do you think on Miami?
Miami. Well, here's the thing: is that
he says that. Well,
here we go.
Well, here's the thing about Miami is that I have them at the bottom end of this little tier. I do not have. I have SMU, Louisville, and Georgia Tech over Miami as just. I think their potential, those three teams' potential is better than Miami's in certain aspects. And honestly, I would say that, I think SMU and Miami have about the same quarterback level. Otherwise, I think that Louisville has a better quarterback, and I think that Georgia Tech, obviously, come on, it's Haynes King. We know he's better. He is by far better than Carson Beck, in my opinion. But standing on business, man. Standing on business. Because Georgia Tech's my not necessarily dark horse, but I do hope that they make the ACC championship. But no, with Miami, Brendan said it, though. It's like, the talent's going to be there for Miami. Cristobal has done enough to put the talent there. I just don't think that Cristobal knows how to coach that talent. I don't know if he knows how to manage that talent for the betterment of the team. And God help me, I know I'm kind of quoting some like somebody's going to – I feel like somebody in y'all's comment section is going to be like, was that a quote from Miracle? Maybe. But it holds true because I think Mario Cristobal, I just don't know if he's the right coach for Miami to bring them to that next level to be, well, it's not hard to be above Florida State, but I mean, like,
you had to do it.
but that being said, it's like I want Miami to be at a position where I can talk about them being Clemson, Miami. I would like that way more than I would like to see that again. I just don't know if Cristobal's the coach to get them there.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year felt like the year to finally get over that hump, and then they blow a 20. Nothing against Syracuse. Fran Brown's building something awesome there, but you cannot blow a 21-0 lead to cost yourself a playoff spot. You just can't. And you look at the schedule this year. Now, the one thing that's favorable is they don't leave the state of Florida until November. That's pretty incredible. But at the same time, you get those late road games at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, and I'm kind of looking at those the certified Mario Cristobal moment could come in one of those games.
Oh, it absolutely could. And really, why I'm even when, we haven't put out our top 25 rankings yet, but I kind of have them power rated higher than some that I've seen. And again, I look at the schedule. The offensive line is loaded. There's so many things about this roster that I'm like, man, this is a really nice. They could do some damage with it, but again, it does lean to coaching, and then does Carson Beck square up? But when you look at the roster or the schedule, excuse me, Notre Dame's early. They're a strong roster, but they have a young quarterback, and they're still having a quarterback battle right now. I don't know if it's just coach speak or what, but there seems to be this back and forth. Nobody knows who it's going to be. The assumption was C.J. Carr, but we'll see. So, I mean, you could go in there with a loaded roster, and you could take down Notre Dame week 1. And then Florida, there's injury concerns with DJ Lagway. Florida State, your tier list has them accurate. We don't know, where are they going to be? There's opportunity here, even if you lose to a Louisville team I think is pretty strong, or SMU. That's another team that I like too. So I don't know. I think there's room for them to get in there. I want to see Mario step up and finish the season. Finish the dang thing, man. Everybody's waiting on you to do it. So show us.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page where we're just we want to see you prove it. At this point, we need to see you get it done.
And there's actually a fourth team that I personally probably would put in with that crew right now, as of right now in the preseason, and that's Pitt. I personally want to throw Pitt in there just because I think that they could build on something, even though they did go 0-6 and something like that, something crazy at the end of the season. But that was mostly to do with Holstein's injury more so than the lack of talent. But I think that they should be considered to be potentially a problem for some of these other teams. But yeah, but absolutely. I think we are on the same page with Miami for sure.
Yeah. So when Miami kind of falls in that, I was going to ask which team do you think is most likely to bust, and I think Miami kind of fell in that category for all of us. So when you look at these teams, which one sticks out to you the most? And maybe Trevor, you can go first, and then Brendan can go after Trevor. Which one sticks out to you the most as the one that could challenge Clemson the most?
Challenge Clemson the most? Well, this is going to sound crazy, but I think Louisville. And I think because of Fromm's history with doing well with quarterbacks, I think Miller Moss got a bad rap. I think he's a better quarterback than what people give him credit for. And I think being with Fromm over there in Louisville, I think they can do something really good there. They'd had a pretty decent recruiting class. They had a really good transfer portal class. And I think that they can build something, and I think that they could potentially make a run. However, it is not going to be easy for them. They do not have an easy road. They have their first 3 games, and then it's Pitt, and then a couple weeks later it's Miami. Then a couple weeks then they go into Virginia Tech, which never is an easy game. I mean, it just goes, and then they have Clemson. They have Clemson, SMU, and Kentucky to finish out their season. So, all things considered, if what I'm saying is true, we're going to find out on November 14th on if they can challenge Clemson legitimately, or is it just Clemson and then everybody else, really?
Yeah,
absolutely. And fun fact, by the way, that Louisville at Virginia Tech game is the first time Louisville's played in Blacksburg as an ACC opponent.
Wow. Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, how about that?
It'll be hopping then.
That's why this conference is too big.
That's like that stat with who is it? Texas A&M hasn't played Georgia or something like that. I can't.
Georgia's yet to play at
That's
Texas
what it is.
A&M.
Thank you. Just like how? Come on, move to 9-game schedule, please. Like the fans want to see that.
We've lost the script, guys.
I'd say so. When I look at a team that I think can really challenge them, I do like SMU a lot, but I'm going Georgia Tech. I mean, and I like Louisville too. I really think I agree. Miller Moss, caught a bad rap. Defensively, USC's a little whack. They're getting better, but I think Georgia Tech is a team with what they return. I like the coaching staff there. I think they develop well, manage games well. Last year we saw. I feel like they got hosed against Georgia late in the season, in that triple or 8 overtime game, whatever it was they had. I think there's so much to like about this team. The offensive line, they return good pieces. The running game is going to be strong with Haynes King, plus Haynes. I like what this team has to offer. And then you look at their schedule. Yes, they play Clemson early. So, I mean, you're going to get a good, I hate saying it, but vibe check, early on in the season. But after that, I mean, they've got room to run, and maybe the team, gels again. Because we've seen that where a team may lose in the regular season, and then they come back and they beat them in the conference championship game. That seems to be a trend. Like, it's hard to, beat a team twice in the same season. So we'll see what happens there. And then in the middle there, you've got Duke, which is a team I like. Is he gone? Oh, there it is. So you've got Duke is a team that I think can, challenge there too in the middle of that schedule. Syracuse, it's a downturn season for me. And then really Pitt is the last one that Big 12 the ACC that I can see as a problem for Georgia Tech. And then, you play Georgia at the end. But, I mean, when you're talking conference schedule, I think they have a lot of room to run here and challenge.
Yeah, and I love that I'm going to get to sit Friday night and watch Georgia Tech and Colorado play before the Saturday. That's awesome. I love it.
Colorado fan, I'm pretty sure he was, comment on our YouTube video for the Georgia Tech preview, and he was like, I think, Trevor, you had said that Georgia Tech's going to run over the Buffaloes. And the Colorado fan commented, he was like, you really think that's going to happen? I was like, yeah, with all this. He's like, okay, bet. We'll see. I'm like, man, you're pretty confident for Colorado right now.
And to be perfectly honest, I don't remember what teams are because I forgot to write them down. I hope Brendan wrote them down. But I stood on business with a couple teams where I'll buy a jersey if they win a certain game this season. I think I got 2 or 3 of those going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I got this back here, but like I'm worried about Georgia Tech running through them because when you saw last year, there were really 2 games where Colorado got absolutely dominated in the line of scrimmage. We saw it against Nebraska, and then in the bowl game against BYU, which I was there for that one. That one was quite the pummeling. So I'm worried about that one happening again. I think Colorado will be better in the trenches, but Georgia Tech, though, man, they're just so good in the trenches, and that's what Brent Key's whole thing is. Like, this is the identity he wanted to create for this team, and he's already doing a great job putting it together. And for me, like, I'm torn on both the teams you guys picked because those were like the 2 I've been thinking of. I really love. I'll start in Louisville and then I'll pivot to Georgia Tech. But man, I really like Miller Boss's fit there. Like, I think there's just a lot of pressure on his shoulders because depending on who you ask, like USC either couldn't run or refused to run to close out games, and it was just all on his shoulders. Obviously, with the running backs and the offensive line that Louisville has, we know they're going to run the ball. They got a great duo of running backs. If Colin Lacey can stay healthy, that's even better. But I really like this Louisville team a lot. I think they're ready to take a step forward. And then Georgia Tech, again, like, the trenches are a huge part of the game, and we know the Yellow Jackets are going to be really good up there. Excited to see it. Hopefully a fully healthy year from Haynes King. And yeah, I'm excited for both those teams. So we'll go to SMU now. Made the college football playoff last year, made the ACC championship, undefeated in the ACC regular season, but this schedule this year is going to be a little bit tougher. How are you guys feeling about the Mustangs?
Within the ACC, I think they're fine. As soon as they step out, I think they'll be in trouble. To be honest with you, I think I'm working on pulling up their schedule at the moment. But yeah, like I think that they would be. They're a tough team. They're a tough team for me to kind of peg, because while they had a really great season and they did very well, I'm just a little concerned that that can be a sustainable thing for them. But that being said, they have Baylor on, like Brendan just mentioned, Baylor, and they also have TCU this season too. And Baylor's going to be an improved team. Me and Brendan have talked about that, Baylor being potentially a surprise team in the Big 12. TCU, I think they're going to be an improved team. I think those will be two really big tests early on for SMU to kind of gauge on how they're going to do, because I think that's pretty much, generally speaking, outside of Clemson and probably Miami, Louisville. I mean, you got to play all of them, really. You got to play Louisville, you got to play Miami, and you got to play Clemson all within your season as well. And personally, the way I see that, that's 3 losses.
Yeah.
I see Louisville, Miami, and Clemson all being a loss for SMU at this point. I just think those 3 teams have stepped up to a talent level that SMU hasn't been able to keep up with. But I've been proven wrong before, and it is still college football, and any given Saturday, anything can flip and happen. So there's that.
I'll say for them, Vegas likes them a bit. They're 8-5 is their over-under. The coaching staff's pretty much the same, so there's continuity there. You do bring back a veteran quarterback in Kevin Jennings, which I think he had a good season. It was just like that moment against Penn State. I don't know if he was just trying to play hero or like what happened, but once you throw 3 interceptions like that, it's so hard to come back from, in the game. And I think you get him another season, of training under the books, because we remember last season he wasn't the original starter. It was Stone, and then whatever the heck was going on with that situation, still weird to me. Things started coming together, so you get him another full off season of reps at 1, and you let him build his confidence. There's rumors of him being courted by Alabama, in the off season. So that's got to boost your confidence a bit. Regardless of how that playoff game went, this is a team that people are saying they could not contend in a big conference, and they went out and did it. So I think there's room here. I love their tight end room with Hibner and Maryland. I think that's a fantastic group. The offensive line should be good again. Running backs are good. You mix in Jennings too. Defense, really, it's cornerbacks is what concerns me a bit on that team. But there's, again, if they can gel, this is going to be a team that can cause some damage. But again, I'm worried about that schedule though for them and getting to the playoff race. Baylor is going to be a strong team. I think we've all said that. We've all come around to that. Maybe the outside college football world is not expecting it still. But if you not listen to ESPN and you listen to guys like Updog or us, you probably know by now. But then TCU, that's another one that's strong. Their running game is what concerns me. So if TCU can lock that down, that's a win. Clemson, that's tough. And Clemson, the Miami one, and Trev mentioned Louisville. I don't know, man. Schedule's tough, but there's room for them to move if they can keep it all together. They've got some experience.
Question is, what do you think the record would need to be for SMU to be in the chip, for ACC chip? I feel like they still have to go 10-2.
Yeah, to get to the ACC title game,
because Georgia Tech has a semi-favorable schedule. Miami kind of does. They don't have. Miami doesn't have to play Clemson, there's that. But they still have to play Notre Dame and everybody.
I guess you could have 4 losses, and from 2 being the outside and then 2 on the inside of the conference.
Yep.
And say you lose to Baylor and TCU, and then you lose 2 on inside to Clemson or 1 of Miami or Louisville.
There's a potential, which means that if they end up getting 4 losses, it is, you have to win that ACC championship game if you want to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you cannot lose both the Miami and Louisville games for sure. Like, you have to win You probably have to win both of those if you lose to Clemson. So that's kind of the tough part too. I think you guys hit the nail on the head there. Kevin Jennings is kind of feels like he's a little bit underrated this offseason just because most of the nation saw what happened against Clemson in the ACC championship and then what happened against Penn State. His biggest issue has been he's a really talented quarterback, can run 60-yard touchdowns at any point. Like, he can break it on you and can throw it anywhere. But the problem is, like, when he gets in a bad spot and starts turning the ball over, he does it in bunches. Don't forget, there was the wild game against Duke where they turned it over 8 times and won that game.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, how do you overcome that? You know, what do you do to fix that mental space? And
but I would say that that's probably the ACC as a whole is like which quarterback in the ACC can play mistake-free football more so than anyone else, because there's plenty of good defenses in the ACC, and I would say only a handful of top-tier quarterbacks. I mean, outside of Klubnik, Beck, and Haynes King, then there's Jennings, like we're talking about, and I can't think. I'm trying to think. Oh, then Miller Moss. We don't really know what he's going to turn into being in Louisville since he's a new guy. So I put him at the bottom level of all those other quarterbacks, but I still think he's good. Outside of that, though, I think there's a lot of question marks at the quarterback position elsewhere within the ACC.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of guys with a wide range of possibilities, which I did not intend that to be a good segue into our next section, but I guess it will work. So when it comes to this section, there's a lot of different teams here, a wide range of teams. We'll be spending a little bit of time here, but I think you guys kind of hinted at it already. A team that could potentially rise above this year and be towards the top, Pitt. Started 7-0 last year, and then injuries hit, and it all fell apart.
Yeah. I mean, they started 7-0, and basically I was trying to start the trend of hashtag save Narduzzi, and it seemed to work a little bit all last season. But I think Narduzzi bought himself a couple years by just having that good of a start of a season. I think they're going to give him some leeway with this team, and I think that they've got a good thing going right now. I'm just look. Pitt's one of those things where they have to stay healthy. Like there's no way on God's green earth that they're going to be able to pull what they did last season off without him. And it was clear that he was the driving force for the 7-0 start. And I mean, it's nice that they start out with Duquesne and Central Michigan starting out the first 2 games to kind of get back into it. But then, hey, guess what? Your third game in, you're going to Morgantown. And I don't know about anybody else. I don't know how you feel about him, Justin, but I know that I think me and Brendan are really stoked to see how they do with the coach, the main guy back in Morgantown, and how amped up they're going to be playing ball again at West Virginia with their head coach. I just think that's going to start it. And then you got Louisville, Boston College, which I think is an underdog this season, which they could actually be a problem for some people. They have a pretty favorable schedule. The end of their schedule sucks. I'm just going to say it. The end of the schedule for Pitt sucks.
It is rough. Don't have any injuries, please, guys.
Like, if you guys can't go healthy all the way up until the last 3 weeks of the season, you're done. You're done. Because, I mean, Notre Dame, then you got to go down to Atlanta and play Georgia Tech, and then you come back home, just to play Miami again.
Now, let me paint the positive here. That is, if you're going to play Notre Dame and Miami in a 3-week period, you would at least want them at home in Pittsburgh when the weather is going to be really, really bad.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's a great point.
That's fair.
That. No, I agree, Trev. I look at, I circle 2 sections of it, the West Virginia game to Florida State, and then, of course, the last 3. The middle, after Florida State, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford. I do think NC State's a team that can surprise people. We've talked about it, Justin, on Twitter. Like, everybody's kind of selling North NC State, and that's usually when they pop and knock somebody off.
That's when they win exactly 9 games.
That could be something to watch, but West Virginia is going to be interesting, but getting them early, I think, before that team really gels, I think is a positive. Louisville, we talked about them. That's going to be a tough team. Florida State, we don't really know yet. There's so much, and that's why they're in this category of wide range of possibilities. They could I don't think they're going to go 2-10 again, but we got to see it. I mean, Castellano's been talking it, so we'll see how that goes. Syracuse, to me, too much overturn on the roster, even though I do like what Fran Brown's doing. It's an interesting schedule for Pitt, but it all depends, again, on them being healthy. Because when they are healthy, last year they were rolling. And I really like Holstein. I think that dude can game. So if he's healthy and the crew's rolling, watch out. They're going to be dangerous. People talk a lot of trash about this Pitt team last year. I was like, I don't know, man. They look pretty good from what
they were fun to watch. Those first 7 weeks, they were just fun to watch.
Yeah, they really were. I enjoyed that team a lot. It kind of stunk that the injuries kind of took them out of the race a little bit. But, yeah, I'm excited for Holstein. Desmond Reed is a really good back, too.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got guys. Defensively, they got people that can step up, too. So it's not like just a one hit. It's all on one guy. But, I mean, he is, offensively – your quarterback goes down, it's so hard to replace, and he's a good one. I think I know Alabama fans were upset to see him leave when he did. So, Pitt, you got a good one. Let's keep him healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess another team that I kind of want to look at here, Duke. Darian Mensah comes in, really good quarterback. The defense, they have dogs all over this defense too. This is already looking like a good defense and kind of one of the more quieter 9-win teams from last year. What do you guys think about the Blue Devils?
I'm a huge fan. When I did their preview,
I forgot about Mensah.
I mean, that's a guy coming over. I mean, that was a big steal. Their over/under is only 6.5, but I mean, they returned 59% production. Last year, offensively, they did have challenges, but the defense was 58th. And I think if the offense can get going with a good quarterback play, now the defense is going to see some support. You mentioned they've got dogs on that side that can play. I mean, Chandler Rivers, he's good. Caleb Weaver, expecting him to step up. Linebackers got good players. I think this is a team that's really going to surprise people this year. I'm bought in. I think I've seen a couple others that are feeling the hype too, but I don't know. Malik Murphy's gone. You got a quarterback that I feel like you can really lean on here. And then you've got 4 returning offensive linemen. I like what this team's got. Trev, what do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think Duke has a potential to do well. However, I will say that they do have a kind of a rough schedule, in my opinion. Meaning that the second game of the season, they have Illinois coming to town, and me and Brendan really just got done kind of talking about them not too long ago, where I know Brendan's a little bit more high on them than I am, but I think they are going to be very difficult for Duke Blue Devils. But if they can come out with the win there, I think that sets their season up very well going forward. Because they have Tulane, which you definitely don't want to sleep on Tulane in New Orleans, because they could get you. But then NC State, Georgia Tech down the road, Georgia Tech and Clemson back-to-back. Not back-to-back weeks, but you have a week off in between. But still, if I was a fan of the Duke Blue Devils, I would not be a fan of where the bye weeks are currently on their schedule. I just think that those are long stretches. And then you have a week off, a game with Georgia Tech, and then a week off, and then you go into Clemson at Memorial Stadium. And I like Duke, but I just don't like them enough where I think they're going to contend to be a part of the ACC championship.
Just practically look at the way the schedule sets up too. There is a 4-week period where they are in New Orleans, at home in North Carolina, in Syracuse, and then in California.
Yeah,
that is a brutal brutal 4-week stretch there.
And I would say that most pundits around the country, I don't hear them actually talking about the travel these teams have to do like they should. I feel like no one takes into the account of the amount of travel some of these teams that have added California teams to mainly an East Coast conference. What kind of toll that takes on a team and the traveling and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very underrated thing to look at because I think nowadays we're just seeing a lot of the bigger networks kind of focus on the same things over and over. And, we're not looking enough at like, what does the travel look like? And also just because these conferences are so big, clunky, and uneven, like you just kind of get like a lot of these bye week disparities as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was going to kind of say I can see the bye week thing being a two-way. It could be good, it could be bad. Depending after you get that long stretch of going out to California, at the end there, the first stretch of games, but then you kind of get a break and to prep for a good Georgia Tech team, and then you kind of see what happened. You get a little break, and then you go to Clemson. I could see those being good for extra weeks to prep for the best teams in the conference. But I agree, it can also throw you off if you're taking so many breaks in between games. You kind of get out of that groove that you're in. So I could see it going both ways. But then after Clemson, it really, if things are going well and maybe you've only lost one in that first slate, or whatever. There's room here for this team to have a really nice season. You could see another 9-10 win season if things go perfect. And Mensa's the guy that everybody thinks he is. But even 9-3, I think is probably the most likely for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have some fun here. Let's talk about North Carolina.
I thought you were gonna say Florida State. I was like, yeah, let's go.
I know. I was thinking about which one because I knew either one of them would bring a giant grin to your face, Trevor. Let's lay into North Carolina first. Let's see. What do you guys think?
So, Trevor.
Well, North Carolina is an interesting one for me because as I actually looked into them I did not look into them into like as a hatred thing. Because whatever. But just looking at their talent pool and what they have, plus with their to also factoring in their schedule and everything else, I'm not as confident in them being able to come out of the ACC with a winning record. I think they're going to have a hard time with TCU right out the gate at prime time on September 1st on Monday night. I think TCU is going to give them a hard time in Chapel Hill. They do have to play Clemson. They do have to play Duke and NC State, which I think them having those two teams back to back is rough. But I think that they should be okay. I mean, they have a lot of games on the East Coast. I think I only saw, one game that they have to go out to California. And that's to play Cal, which I think is actually an underrated team this year in the ACC. I still think that, even though they did me dirty last year, I think that Cal Bears will eventually. they're one of these days they're going to prove me right that they're going to do something positive. But no, NC State, okay, they'll have a winning record. I just think that it'll be more like a seven wins, maybe 8 wins. But I think that they're going to have a hard time with Duke, NC State, Clemson, TCU. I think those 4 games potentially are losses. Outside of that, though, hey, I mean, that's a pretty good first season for Belichick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's so much off-season noise with this program, with the Belichick thing coming in initially and then the girlfriend saga and all that other crap. Like it was like what is happening right now?
I heard each game that he was going to let her call one offensive play each.
I think she's going to force.
I'm kidding. I'm so
forcing
kidding.
Her way in, buddy. But no, I mean, besides the jest from the off-season stuff. They made good moves in the portal. I mean, there's a lot to like here. I think Gio Lopez is an absolute gamer. I expect him probably being it, right? It's going to be him as a quarterback. Max Johnson's still there, but I don't know. I think Gio really showed out last season, and you kind of play the hot hand, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I agree though, Trev. It's hard to buy in until you see it. The schedule, and that first game is going to say a lot about both of those teams. I'm really excited to watch that one, man. I'm pumped for that game.
Yeah. And what I would say about North Carolina is that I'm more curious to see down the road if Belichick actually hangs around, what can he build and what kind of recruiting talent can he bring in? Yeah. That will be a curious thing for me, because if there's a bunch of players that maybe are a 4-star that's behind some elite talent at wide receiver, for example, and they're looking for a place to land, what better place to land than Bill Belichick to kind of coach you up on what the NFL is looking for and things like that if you have like 1-2 years eligibility left. I think that's a possibility that they could hit the portal hard and not have to spend a lot of money, and really they'll sell the fact that they can get these players to the NFL, and that's where they'll make their money.
Pretty well with him.
And they are already. I think, I believe 2026 is looking good for them. I'd have to double check on the recruiting trail, but last I checked, I think they were doing really well.
Yeah, it's just this offseason just started with there was just so much nonsense, and it was
a lot of noise.
Is this even like a Belichick team? And then kind of we got around that spring portal. They got Gio Lopez in, and that's kind of when we started to see things kind of settle down a little bit. We kind of saw the noise stop a little bit, and really all now we're hearing about them is when they get another good 2026 recruit. Yeah. So it's starting to look more and more like it's going to be a Bill Belichick team, but I'm very curious to see if the distractions from early in the offseason impact them this year.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be able to quiet it. Yeah. I think he will.
Absolutely. Now I think let's hit Florida State, because I knew you've been waiting.
He's been like the skin crawling.
Of course I am. I have things pulled up, man. I'm ready.
Oh God, you bringing out receipts or what?
No. Well, I don't even need to. Castellanos did that for me. Like, for real, he did it for me. I didn't even need to do nothing. The minute he transferred out of BC and went to Florida State, it was just like, I guess they just gave him carte blanche to talk. Because I haven't heard a word from this guy in 3 seasons at BC, and all of a sudden he goes to Florida State, and the first words out of his mouth was, "We're going to beat Alabama." I was like, who the hell are you, dude? Like, what in what world do you think after a 2 and whatever season you're going to walk into you're going to let Alabama come into Doak Campbell and just dog walk you guys all the way out of your own stadium? Cuz I really do think that's going to happen. I'm serious. I think that it's going to be a bad situation for Florida State that first week. Then they'll have a couple weeks where they can Bama's going to probably just absolutely obliterate them, and I'm going to set my phone to record that whole game, and I'm going to put up little receipts, that live episode. I'm going to have little videos just like playing in the background every time someone wants to try and talk about Florida State being something special this year.
That comments a lot on those, buddy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
friend in air quotes, because I'll tell you what.
Lord have mercy. Sorry, carry on,
but really, okay, so outside of the Alabama game, they have Virginia, Miami, and Pitt back to back, like right out the gate, or not right out the gate, but first 3 games of your ACC schedule. Then you turn around with, and this is an underrated team that I think may cause a lot of people some problems, Wake Forest, then Clemson. Right afterwards, you go into Memorial Stadium, where I think Wake Forest definitely could cause some problems, considering Clemson's the next week. Then Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida all ending that whole last stretch of your season could potentially be 0-5 right there that last week of the season or last five weeks of the season.
It's crazy even saying that about Florida State, but just after last year, you're like, I mean, could it?
Look, I mean, and I know, Justin, you may not agree with me, but I don't think Castellanos is the answer at Florida State. The way they play football, I just don't think that he is going to be as good as advertised. But we'll see on how they utilize him and his legs.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien got frustrated with him and benched him at Boston College.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what the Gus bus does with him, man. That's the hope, I guess. New coordinators. You did bring in Tony White, which I think is a good hire. So try
it was a good hire.
Squared away. Still had a solid.
Here comes Brendan with the voice of reason.
I try to
Well, notice he started with the defense.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you got to paint the picture. All right, so you got a good defensive coordinator. You got some guys. You got a good portal class. Last time I feel like they again had a really strong, a big numbered portal class, but a lot of it was guys just weren't either buying in or they weren't meshing well. Quarterback play, obviously, the offensive line play was horrible. Didn't give DJU any time, even though DJU the year before at Oregon State did fine. It wasn't like a world beater season, but it wasn't as bad as what happened at Florida State. So you're like, okay, what's going on coaching staff wise? So that's why I think there's room for hope for them. But the defense, they've got guys there. They've got people that look good on the front end. Running backs got options. Sawchuck, I think, is going to be good. There's room here for this team to really impress and surprise people. But we just got to see it. We got to see Castellanos get to a self that was closer to 2023, minus the turnovers. He's got to square that problem. We'll see. He's talking it. He's trying to get the team amped up. I get what he's trying to do, but sometimes a wise man keeps his mouth shut.
Okay, so I get what he was trying to do, yeah, but did you really have to pick Alabama?
I know what you're saying, but did you?
Did you really have to go after Bama?
Bear. Don't poke the bear.
Go after Wake Forest or somebody. When we play Wake Forest, we're going to beat them.
Okay, yeah, we got it.
All right, I believe you. Castellanos, yeah. But no, honestly, this is just a thought that popped into my head. What does he have to do to keep his job this season? Yeah.
I mean, you got.
Does it have to be bowl game or a bowl game? Otherwise, you done, son.
I think a bowl game. I think a bowl game shows at least you're getting the train back on the tracks a little bit.
I agree. Bowl game or bust.
I would agree. 6 wins. Got to get to 6 wins at least.
I mean, if you lose to Bama, Miami, Clemson, Florida, you lose to every big team, and then you drop one to maybe, if you drop to Wake Forest on that trap game before, because we previewed that. Yeah. I think there's room for improvement for them as well. Or you drop to Virginia Tech. God, man, I mean, their fans would be. I still think would be rabid. They're already frustrated online, so it's like, I mean, I don't know what else they have to handle.
It's like it's honestly okay. So real talk, talking about this team is like shooting fish in the barrel. It's too easy. It's too easy to trigger them.
I feel bad. I know you don't.
I don't. As a Michigan fan, do you want to know how many years I got it? Really, really, I got it? Come on, dude. You remember nobody felt bad for Michigan when they were sucking. Nobody.
They got left out of that champ or the playoffs, and then I
do feel bad about that part because they shouldn't have been left out. Yeah. That part, I 100% agree. They should not have been left out of the playoff. But folks, we're way past that now. Way past that. We're just trying to get back to a bowl game here, folks.
Do you think that had an impact in the locker room? Do you think that impacted their buy-in getting left out that?
We talked about that a lot.
100%.
Maybe is there a culture problem with Florida State? And
yeah, we suggested that. When did we suggest that? In the offseason after they didn't get
when it happened, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I know we're off base, but it's just hey, this team they got screwed is how most of us felt, from playing in the playoffs, and then they were boycotting the bowl game, and then they get dog walked by Georgia, And then Georgia can flaunt that all day long, and then you're in your mind as Florida State fans and coaches, you're trying to cope of like, no, that doesn't count. It's a meaningless bowl game. No, buddy, that's still on the record. It still freaking counts. And then you go in.
Yeah, you're not 14-0. You're 14-1.
Production, you get so many guys gone, and then you try to replace with the portal, and then people are showing up late to practice. Reports are saying that, like, the coach is just trying to keep it together. I don't know, man. I don't think it's a long-term problem, but I think going into what happened, what we saw last year, it definitely played a role. But outside of that, I think there's hope for this season. How much, I don't know. Bowl game, you got to do it.
Yeah.
What I will be paying attention to with Florida State is how their players react to adversity. Because up to this point, Florida State players have not reacted well to any sort of adversity.
Yeah.
At all.
Last year was bad.
Like at all. I mean, darn near the whole team darn near quit on that season last season. And it showed by their exit, the transfer portal, and how many players exited that transferred in that same year. At the beginning of the year. So we're going to see this next batch of transfers that they got at Florida State, which I really hope they get back to actually doing top-tier recruiting, more so than top-tier transfer portal. Which I think that's just Norvell reacting to the pressure and trying to get better talent at certain positions. But, I think he's fired regardless if they don't contend for the ACC championship. I think they're going to move to a different direction.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating just because they're going to get dog walked by Alabama in front of everyone. There's not really even any other games going on at that time, so it's going to be really public. But then you have East Texas A&M and Kent State and Virginia to follow that up. So that's where you got to pull your season back together and then be respectable at least against Miami. That's where their season really starts to take shape.
Yep. I mean, as I would imagine that Pitt will be in full stride as far as what their team looks like by the time they go to Doak Campbell on October 11th too.
Yeah.
So that could be a potential problem as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll look at another team in this tier now. Virginia Tech, another team that I think we all collectively really had high expectations on last year. And they fell flat. Now, it wasn't as flat as it kind of felt like, because, again, the difference between what the expectations were and where they ended up were 4 one-score losses. But they just could not close out games.
No, they couldn't. I'm trying to get to 2024 to remind myself of all the games.
I think we all expected more from, quarterback position, just everything, drones, and he can only do so much, around what's going on with him. But I mean, the overtime loss to Syracuse, the overtime loss early to Vandy. I mean, it's like when I look at this, it's like I'm looking at Nebraska's schedule. And just like it's so many one-score losses, you just can't get over the dang hump. And I know a lot of fans are getting ready. They're mentally ready to move on from the coaching staff. Like they're tired of this team not being.
Someone threw out John Gruden, the Virginia Tech today.
Yeah, let's do it. No, God bless.
Fire up the groomers, old boy.
Oh my goodness, could you imagine?
Well. What I'm thinking is going to happen is they're going to get one of these old D coordinators that have been around the block for millennia, and make them the head coach. I don't know. I'd love to see it. Rob Ryan for Big Tech head coach. Let's do it.
Oh.
Yes, I want to see the long hair man do it.
With Metallica and everything.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely. It would be perfect. He's a defensive analyst or whatever the hell he is. I forget what he is, but he's already that. Like he gets a year under his belt to kind of get the feel for it, and then just bring him right into head coach.
Oh my goodness!
Boom.
No,
I want to see it. But no, Virginia Tech. Real talk though. I mean, I really would like to see you do well this season. And in all honesty, when Virginia Tech is really at the top, and like being at the top echelon of ACC, it's great for college football because generally speaking, Virginia Tech's one of those programs that a lot of people want to root for. Even if you aren't a fan of any team in particular in ACC, outside looking in, like Virginia Tech's one of those teams that people will root for.
I got nothing but love for this team. I love the stadium. I love the atmosphere, the location, like everything about it. So if they can get things rolling, I like Drones too at quarterback. There's talent here. There's talent to be found and to be recruited all over the Virginia and the DMV area. You can reach all over the East Coast. So.
And once again, though, they have a rough schedule this season.
Yeah,
in my opinion, they have a rough schedule. They start out with South Carolina and Vandy.
Yeah.
1-2 punch right there. Vandy, who will be a very, very good team, I think. South Carolina is going to be very man, that's a dangerous team. I just want to say it right now. South Carolina is dangerous. And then you got a couple breaks with Old Dominion and Wofford, and then you go right into it again. You can't
overlook Old Dominion. Yeah, Old Dominion
is
pretty solid too.
Look, you can't. Old Dominion looks at that as a rivalry game, so I'm just going to say that right there. Like, I used to work with a couple Old Dominion grads, and I'll tell you what, they look forward to any Virginia game, Virginia or Virginia Tech, and they look forward to them both. But then, I mean, they play Georgia Tech, they play Louisville, they play Florida State, they play Miami. I mean, good God. And NC State, they should be good this year. They're getting overlooked like nobody's business, but sorry, Virginia Tech. I don't know if this year's your year.
Yeah,
this would be a good year for the building block, but I think Fry is going to get his butt fired after this season.
Man, yeah, I'm looking at that first start. If you go 0-2 out the gate, I mean,
if he goes 0-2 out of the gate, he might as well he lit the match. He lit the wick, and it's just burning. It's a slow burn all the way to the butt. It's going to launch him right out of his headman seat.
Justin, what do you feel about him? I just don't know.
Man, yeah, they can't start 0-2. Like, you have Vanderbilt coming to Blacksburg. That's a tough ask, but you've got to find a way to make that one happen. You've got to win that game.
Absolutely. I would agree completely.
And, like, if you can win that one, you can get to a 3-1 start. Mm-hmm. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe NC State doesn't continue their trend of having 9-win seasons out of nowhere. And then you get Wake Forest. Like, you could start 5-1. And you could see the momentum kind of build from there. You get Cal down the line. Cal hasn't been to Blacksburg. Louisville hasn't been to Blacksburg. Like, you can start to see the momentum build. And maybe they have a solid season. But overall, like, it feels like this team is kind of trending towards they just need a winning season at this point, and it's going to be tough to even reach that.
Yeah.
What do you think makes Fry safe, though, at this point? I'm wondering that myself, honestly, right now.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Because I think I want to say that he would have to have – I want to see 7 wins out of him.
Yeah, I mean –
out of this team for him to keep his job.
Yeah, after last year.
Again – yeah, I think it got to be that. And assuming he goes 0-2, he goes like
man,
that makes it tougher.
I'd say bowl game for sure. He's got to even keep a semblance of safety. It's got to be bowl game, but I mean, I think that's doable, especially like Justin said. If you start out the game, you only drop the one to Vandy, and then you're going into Georgia Tech with only 1 loss. Okay, you're going to be all right.
The one thing is we saw kind of a lot of patience with ACC coaches the last couple of years. Like, we didn't really see them make a lot of big moves, especially on the basketball side where they're really struggling. Like, that's even a cheaper option to make a change there, and they didn't really do it. So it feels like maybe a winning record would keep him there, but it really is just all up in the air. It honestly depends on finances too.
Very true.
Yeah.
I was curious to see how the fan base reacts. I feel like they've been pretty patient, and they're hungry for wins and being in the ACC title conversation again. So if they get fed up enough, maybe they'll cause some change. We've seen it with Tennessee. We've seen it happen at Michigan before. So I mean, if the fan base rises up, I mean you'll might maybe see some action. So
Yeah, you almost need like your fans to be more in the lunatic fringe. Like maybe we don't see enough of that in the ACC, and that's why we kind of start to see the teams struggling in bowl games and stuff.
Yeah, you need your fan base to start acting like it's the purge about your coaching staff, and then you're good.
Oh my God.
Just act like absolute lunatics on the internet. It'll be okay.
Absolute lunatics.
Crashing out everywhere.
Virginia Tech fans, if you guys don't get 6 wins, just act like any SEC team if they don't win enough games. That's basically the energy you need to put towards the Virginia Tech leadership.
Now, I guess mentioning fan bases that went crazy over the internet, but for a different reason. The Cal Golden Bears.
The Calgorithm.
I put them in this the Calgorithm. I put them in this category because the schedule actually kind of sets them up where they have a lot of 50-50 games.
Yes, I would agree with that. Cal is one of my teams that I've been kind of high on. And like I said it early on, they let me down last year. And I was very disappointed. I really, in my heart of hearts, I thought that they could have had they had an opportunity, I should say, that they could have had a phenomenal year last year, and it just did not. It just didn't come through for whatever reason. And I can probably come up with a few.
The 4-game stretch of 1-score losses where they lost all of the games the exact same way.
Yep. Good news with this schedule, they don't have Clemson, so that's nice that you avoid that. I think that a few of these games, Oregon State's going to be a tricky one out in Oregon, I think. Corvallis is a fun place to play unless you're the opponent. But and then Minnesota. So Minnesota's a tricky one for me because when I looked at this game, I'm like, if you win this game, you set yourself up for a different. Honestly, if you go 3-0 in your first 3 games with going into Oregon State, and then Texas Southern should be a win. God help me. God help you if that's not a win. And then Minnesota, if you can win that game, which me and Brendan both think Minnesota Gophers are going to be improved this year. And then San Diego State, that's a tricky game. You got to be careful with them. Man, guys, I think that this team could go 8 wins. There's a potential for these guys to go 8 wins. And I'm sorry, Virginia Tech fans, like you might be in their crosshairs, like honestly. Like I just like Cal's team a little bit more. Like there's nothing specifically that I like great about them, but I loved them last year, and they did not lose a ton. They did lose a few players that I was sad to nothing really came to fruition last year. Like I had hoped, but I think that they could do a 7-win season, and I think that would be a successful season for Cal. A 7-win season, I think, would be a successful season.
With Cal, last year there's so much potential. Mendoza's a good quarterback. Yeah, Jay Knott, like all these things. Yeah, the power of the Calgorithm behind you. What they were doing online was hilarious. The whole woke memes and all, it was glorious. But then it just fell apart, and then you get Jay Knott transfers, and everybody's like just stung by that. And then he goes off and he talks trash about the program, saying, when he gets to Oklahoma, he's like, it feels good to be in a place where they care about football like this. And I don't know if he's talking about, I don't know if he's necessarily talking about the teammates, like if they're bought in, or maybe just the administration. But, I mean, that still hurts to hear from your star running back that you fell in love with. So that's just something, to me that's going to ring in some ears there. They hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, talking about that, though, I think that all the California schools not named USC, they're more concerned with academics than they are about sports.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, Cal and Stanford, like they like if you go back and you listen to some of the Harbaugh interviews about his time at Stanford, it was like pulling teeth to get them to commit to like really putting in some effort on the football side of things. And I think that's just what Cal is running into. Hopefully they're starting to change their ways a little bit, because if they don't, they're just going to that it's going to go bad, even more south than what it is.
Yeah, they'll just continue to kind of flounder the way they have been. Really, I think Ott was there for a lot of it too. Like, he kind of dealt with all of that during, just after the post-COVID era, just like a lot of, Cal kept putting football second compared to everything else. And it was very strange to see, like, how they managed to land Ott during that time is still a mystery to me. How they got him over to USC, literally a mystery to me. But yeah, like, it was tough to lose him, especially when they lost him. They lost him in the spring, and then lost the other top 5 running backs in their depth chart. You brought in you brought in Brian Harsin, and then out went the whole offense. So that was kind of the hard part with Cal. I mean, man, I liked them heading into the spring. Like, heading into the spring, it felt like they had real momentum, and then they kind of lost a few guys in that spring portal. And now it's kind of like they have a good schedule, but is this offense going to come together in time? You might be even starting a true freshman. Yeah. We don't know what Devin Brown is, because the guy has 2 starts and 3 snaps because he got hurt in both starts. So it's really, really going to be interesting to see what Cal does. And I mean, for the most part, I know there's some optimism with their fan base. They hope that the offensive line is going to be bigger and better this year, because one of the problems with why they couldn't reach Trevor's goals last year is because they couldn't run the ball. So they couldn't run the ball to close out games, and they blew a lot of leads. And obviously the Miami game was the worst example of that, where they could not run the ball at all, and Miami came back and won that one.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they fill it out this season. And you mentioned 4 new offensive linemen, young quarterback. I'm assuming he'll start. Yeah, I know Devin Brown, but again, he's been hurt so many times. How do you trust that? Especially on the outside looking in. Now maybe he's doing fine right now. I don't know, but from the outside looking in, how do you put stock into that? And then you just hoping that 5-star quarterback that you stole away from Oregon, you hope he steps up and he's the guy. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that first game at 10:30 at night in Corvallis to really see where Cal is, because honestly, I think that is a phenomenal barometer on where the program is currently.
I like what the Beavers are bringing to the table this year.
Oh yeah, Beavers are chomping. They're ready to go.
Saw some wood, boys. By the way, Beavers, they play the Golden Gophers. A lot of rodents early in the schedule here.
A lot of rodents.
A lot of rodents after dark.
Yeah, a lot of rodents after dark. Yes,
indeed.
Indeed.
A hashtag, buddy, when they come up.
Rodents after dark.
You heard it here first.
Rodents after dark.
Sports podcast. Oh my god.
I don't know if it's because it's at the dark here or what, but man, that one just popped to mind. Right. We're gonna see a lot of Calgorism at the dark here though, because they have a lot of late night games. It's gonna be fun to watch. This is a long tier, guys, but we are on to our next one, which I just put the chaos team. Syracuse.
That's pretty much accurate too.
Yeah, because Fran Brown's building this program, like really bringing a lot of talent that we haven't seen come through Syracuse in a very long time. Not since Donovan McNabb was there, it feels like. But the Orange are making strides, but the reason why they kind of fall in this chaos team category, usually I reserve this category for a team that I think is really good, but the schedule is just really difficult. So they're going to have an opportunity to ruin someone's season, but for themselves, it's going to be probably just about winning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that they're in a interesting crossroads, I think, with the program. And you're right. The schedule is, well, for lack of a better term, pretty darn brutal. To have Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Clemson all on your schedule, that's just rough in and of itself. And then you throw in Pitt, SMU, and Georgia Tech all still on your schedule. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't forget. Sorry. I'm sorry, Miami. You're still there, too. My bad. God bless it. So yes, you're right, Justin. I think that this is going to be kind of a team that's going to be a spoiler team. And Notre Dame, look out, because you would be right in their crosshairs, or Miami. With the being part of the last 4 weeks of the season, both Miami and Notre Dame being right there, I think that those two teams might be susceptible to looking ahead to the ACC championship. Well, not Notre Dame because they suck and they're an bunch of idiots. But
Notre Dame on it, I love it.
I hate them so much for not being in a conference but playing in conference games. Pisses me off so much.
You and many others, my friend.
Oh, makes me so angry. They should not even that should not even count as a conference game, in my opinion. If you don't want, makes me mad.
The only thing that's worse in my opinion is like scheduling a conference opponent as a non-conference game, like NC State and Virginia this year.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
That doesn't make any sense to me either. Yes.
When I look at this team, and we talked about it with the Syracuse fans online, and I think they've got tempered expectations, and I'm pretty happy to see that, because I feel like a lot of teams with the season they had last year, they're like, okay, we need to build off that immediately, and we need to go to the playoffs this year, or we need to contend for the Syracuse fans I've seen have been pretty realistic. And you've got to be, when you lost all your production from last season, like your major production. You only returned 46. Your over/under is 5.5. So it's like that. Even outside looking in, people are like, okay, hey, there's going to be a drop back. The quarterback play, is it Ricky Collins or is it Angeli? I feel like that's still a step down from what they had in McCord. Regardless of what people thought about McCord, I mean, he still had a hell of a year last year, minus that 6 interception game that he had.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's defense has players on it that can step up. I like what they have at points, but I think it's just too many question marks to have a 8-9 win season. That's what we're talking to their fan base, and like, hey, if we win 6 games this year, back up the Brinks truck and drop it all on Fran's lap. Like if he manages 6 games with what's going on and the schedule they have. Like you said, Tennessee early, that's going to be tough. Clemson, Duke's a team that we already mentioned I like a lot. SMU, I mean, good Lord, man. It's tough. It's tough. But I think they'll upset somebody's schedule. Who it is, I don't know. When it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want it to be Notre Dame.
I know you do.
I'm just going to say it right now.
all of those teams in the first 2 tiers that we mentioned tonight, all of those games against those teams are all on the road, which is ridiculous. Yeah. And then you have Notre Dame on the road. Tennessee is at a neutral site, but it's in Atlanta, so really closer to Tennessee. That is rough. Like you've got to sweep the home slate at that point. The home slate's no gimme with UConn, Duke, and Pitt.
And UConn's a team that we like as well on the outside. I know you do too, Justin. They've got pieces. They've got a lot of returning production and a good coaching staff there. That's one you cannot overlook, especially if you start off 0-1 and you take a beating by Tennessee. You better rebound quick. You can't have a hangover loss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this schedule doesn't allow you to have a hangover.
No, you got to bring it each week. Which Fran Brown team, I trust them to bring it every week. I think they're gonna be pretty good. But man, I mean, Syracuse in the future though, I'm excited to see what this program's gonna do.
Oh hell yeah, he is building something special there. Just the mindset, the culture that they're developing there, also recruiting well and portaling well. Okay, I'm buying in. I'm buying stock. It's coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Stock up. Maybe just not this year. Boston College, I put them as destined to win 7 games again because that just seems to be what Boston College tends to do. Do you think Bill O'Brien's crew can surpass that, or I mean, are you worried about them at all with the schedule they face?
Yes.
Yes. Yes on all. Oh man.
All of the above.
I am worried about their schedule. But It's not insurmountable necessarily. It's just they have one of the rougher 4-game stretches in the ACC schedule, starting with at Louisville, then you go to Notre Dame, then SMU, then Georgia Tech, just right back to back to back to back, and it just that's a rough stretch for them. End of October, going into the first all of November. Excuse me. But Bill O'Brien, I think, is a decent offensive coach. I still question him on the defensive side of the ball a little bit. And I'd like to see them improve on the defensive side of the ball this season, meaning that lower scoring games, not getting into anything. So I want to say you're probably looking at this, I think you're right. It's about a 7-win season. I think you can probably put that on it. But I also like that Bill O'Brien's kind of putting his stamp on this team. So however they finish, it's kind of Bill O'Brien's team right now because they forced out Castellanos and they forced out a couple other players. So it's Bill O'Brien's ship, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, I don't know. The schedule, again, it does feel like another 7-win. That stretch is rough. Early, you have Michigan State, which is trying to really turn it around and improve. It is set up rough, and then there's UConn again lurking in between two big ones.
I know.
You want to talk about a trap game? I know it feels like one to me. Clemson, UConn, and then Louisville, and oh god, I just
you even go outside of that. You got at Pitt before Clemson, and then Notre Dame following at Louisville.
That's nasty. That's nasty work. Whoever made these
that's
schedules
nasty
not
stuff.
like you, Boston College. I'm sorry. I don't know what you did or who you offended, but it's somebody up high.
Yeah, that is some stank on the schedule, that's for sure. I mean, the one thing is, though, where I kind of look at them to potentially disrupt things a little bit, SMU traveling to Boston College on November 8th. After SMU plays Miami, and, it's in November, so the weather's probably going to be pretty bad. That one's the one where I look at and think, ooh, SMU or Boston College may interrupt the season.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be good enough to damage somebody. Again, it's who can they trip up, or it's going to be very close and it's going to wear them down, or maybe you catch them already worn down, like you said, from a tough point in their other team schedules. So it'll be interesting. I can see a 7-win season again. Who they win, I don't know. It's going to be just up in the air. Whatever week is drops. I think the Syracuse one will probably be a good chance at a dub there at the very end, and coming off a bye week, and then you got to beat Stanford early, Fordham, of course, and then Cal coming off that bye too. Those are for sure to me. Like, I feel good about those. The rest, no clue.
The rest is absolutely up in the air. So mentioning up in the air, we have our bull hopefuls here, but we've heard some optimism here. Trevor said a few good things about Wake Forest earlier. One of our friends, Walk On Moose, is very much on the Virginia to win 9 games train. So, so that one's a fun one. All
right.
So of these two, which one sticks out to you guys the most is the one that's most promising?
I'm going Virginia. I don't know if I'm as on them as Moose is, but I like what they brought over. I mean, Chandler Morris alone is a huge pickup. But the biggest question again is just, can you get the offense and defense completely together? And last year they were 93rd and 101st respectively. 63% returning production, but again, that doesn't always mean if it's not good returning production, what the hell does it matter? But the portal class was 24th in the country. So it's like they're going out and they're getting guys with quality behind their name too. 31 in. So I mean, there's a lot of new people. It'll be interesting to see what this program does. And then when you look at their schedule, there's room in the early stages to pick up steam. Coastal, NC State, it is in Raleigh. But then you get William & Mary, Stanford. I mean, you could realistically have a 4-0 start before you go play Florida State. And then after that bye week, Washington State, which is unfortunately really a shell of itself, I feel like. And then you kind of get these couple away games, North Carolina, Cal. I don't know. It's an interesting schedule. I don't know if I'd say 9, but I mean, I kind of like what they have.
Yeah, and I'm kind of sticking with what my tone for this particular show, and I'm sticking with my Wake Forest Demon Deacons. I like the way the schedule kind of shakes out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think NC State's going to be a good team, but I think that their schedule, being that you don't play. Yeah, you don't play. I always have to double check before I say they don't play, because I've been caught so many times. They don't play this team. Oh wait, yes they do. Yes they do.
17-team conference.
But no, they don't. They get to skip Clemson and Miami. Just out of that alone, I mean, it gives them hope to potential. Because I think there's a chance. I'm not saying that they're a better team, but there's a chance that you upset SMU. It's a definite chance that you can beat Virginia. There's a definite chance you could potentially upset Georgia Tech. I'm not saying that like Wake Forest has enough speed and talent on their team. I mean, they did bring in 35 transfer guys this season. So, I mean, who knows really what Wake Forest is? But they did have a decent transfer haul. Nothing spectacular, but a bunch of 3-star solid players for Wake Forest. And I really like the way their schedule kind of shapes out for them this season. And really, I will be interested to see how that Thursday night opening ACC game against NC State will turn out. I'll be watching that one kind of with curiosity, because that'll give me a good barometer for where Wake Forest is going into that game.
For me, real quick on them is the offense, and going out and getting, new coordinator, quarterback, Easel and then Dickert, those guys coming over from USA. And I mean, that was the 18th rated offense, in the country last year at South Alabama. So I mean, if you can get this ball rolling again, who was it? I'm trying to remember the quarterback that went on to Notre Dame that left Wake Forest. What was his name?
Sam Hartman.
Oh,
yeah. So
Hartman.
Those offenses were fun to watch at Wake Forest. If you can get back to that stuff, okay, I can buy in. I want to see it.
Yeah, I need to see it first, and especially bringing in a new coach. But definitely the schedule sets up ways to build momentum. Like, even if NC State does go on that run to 9 wins, like, you could always see that, like, Wake Forest game being an early loss that they take that kind of throws you off the scent. I feel like that's a very on-brand thing to happen there, where they lose that early game to Wake Forest. Everyone's like, "Oh, they're gonna stink." They bury them, and the next thing you know, NC State wins their bowl game and ends up with 9 wins. But yeah, it's a very interesting schedule. Like, you get that random road game at Oregon State after you play Virginia Tech in Lane Stadium, so that's gonna be a really interesting spot there. But it definitely sets them up. I like that both of these teams, kind of the underdog teams of the conference, it feels like, Wake Forest because they have a very small budget, and Virginia because they tend to focus on basketball. I like that they kind of both seem to have that kind of favorable schedule. Wake Forest would kind of just be like, how do those pieces come into place? How do they adjust? For Virginia, it's going to be about not beating themselves, because Virginia Tech was one of the worst teams about getting penalized last year. And they could not close out games as a result, took a lot of one-score losses. And, of course, you mentioned the defensive side of the ball, obviously trying to use the portal to revamp a secondary that couldn't stop a plastic bag floating in the wind.
Yeah.
It's going to be about that, but I do like the potential for both teams, and I think, we could see both of them make a run at the bowl.
Yeah, and really, last thing I've got for Virginia is you've got to up your sack production. I think they had 19 on the season last year. Like, that's unacceptable. That number jumps up. Now you're going to have some room for movement and getting a bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that the pass stopping problems were twofold. It was not just on the secondary. Obviously they take a lot of the heat for it, but at the same time, if your guys can't get after the quarterback, you're on an island all day.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we wrap up the team by team portion with Stanford at least we have Andrew Luck.
Hey, man. Hey, they should be grateful they have Andrew Luck. All right, he's trying to rework this thing and build it back to really what Harbaugh built, and then what David Shaw kind of continued for a little while, even though that was lacking compared. But there's so much potential for this team. I like that Luck is trying to put his stamp on it, and he didn't like what was going on this offseason. He pulled the string on the coach and yanked it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the captain now. I'm gonna run this thing."
I like the little Captain Andrew Luck pun there.
I had to play that in, Captain Phillips, Captain Andrew Luck. I love that account too on Twitter. That's funny stuff, man. Trev, what do you feel on old Stanford, buddy?
Not a whole lot, really.
Look.
Sorry.
Look.
Look.
They're cooked. Sorry.
Look, Linda. Look. So, while I think they are making strides to becoming better, this season is just not going to be the season that will make them better. This season, look, Hawaii right out the gate. They've made strides this offseason to be better this season. We've already looked at them. BYU, we don't really even know what BYU is going to be. But they potentially could be a very tough second team. Boston College. Then you go right in. 2 games, and then you're in your ACC schedule. You get 2 ACC games, and then you go back to playing San Jose State, which is fine, I guess. Boston College, Virginia, you could make them a game, both of those. You could make them a game. But, then you after the bye week, you just, wow. Wow. It's like, God bless it. SMU, Florida State, Miami, Pitt, North Carolina. Oh, yeah, last game of the season, Notre Dame, no big deal. I think Stanford, if Stanford really is all in on getting their football program back to a level where people recognize the brand as a football program, then I think they are probably about 2 seasons away from really doing something great. I just don't I don't see them making a bowl this season.
Yeah.
Honestly, the way the schedule's lined up, and even the non-coms, San Jose State's even a really good program. So, they really are. BYU's a good program, really good program. Obviously, they're ranked this season. So, I don't think this season's the season. So, it's really Stanford fans and even the players, stay the course. Don't freak out that you guys had a bad season, especially the underclassmen. I feel like that there's too many players that are jump ship after one bad season, and I just doesn't really allow you to build a program that way if you have players not willing to stick around for the hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. And they their quarterback is a good young talent. He's gonna have to go through it this year, to be honest. It's gonna be pretty rough. Stanford, especially the trenches, are just an area where they are going to struggle immensely this year, which is pretty brutal. That after playing Hawaii, that second game is against BYU.
Yeah.
They are going to get absolutely bullied in that game.
Yeah.
And then Boston College even is another team that could probably bully you up front. So it's just going to be really rough. And that's the area where it kind of your path back kind of starts a little bit. You need to figure out how to get better up front, both offensively and defensively, because their offensive line I really can't really find any redeeming qualities about it last year. It wasn't good at pass protection or running the ball.
Yeah, it was rough, and then you took a beating in the portal too at wide receiver, and it's gonna be tough. But I agree, stay the course, let Andrew Luck do his thing, and I don't know. Over-under's at 3.5, guys. It's gonna be rough.
I'd say that's about right.
That's actually a pretty optimistic over-under, especially with no FCS teams on the schedule.
And like you said, San Jose State is one of our contenders, that we've put out in the group of 5. BYU, even with Retzlaff gone, like you said, they're going to run it. Hawaii's tough. I don't know. I hope they can figure it out, but yeah, not this year, guys.
Unless Florida State or Cal dumps the bed here, or maybe even Boston College, you're looking at potentially facing 12 bowl teams.
Yeah, I hate saying it. I could
potentially, yeah.
Season. I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but
I think they can probably win against Hawaii because I think that while Hawaii's made strides to be better, I think Stanford is still bigger and stronger up front.
It's going to
maybe. But I still think they can get 3 wins, but I'm going to still take the under on the over-under if I was to take an over-under on them.
Yeah, if I had to put money on that, my money would definitely be on the under. But mentioning that, let's put our money on the line here. Not literally.
Okay.
ACC championship picks, guys. Who do you see in the ACC championship and who wins?
All right.
Clemson, you go.
For sure is a team that I have that will be there. The other one, this is kind of where I've been in a toss-up mode, and I lean Georgia Tech is the other one that's going to make it, but I think that's where I'm at. I think it's going to be Clemson, Georgia Tech, and then Miami's going to be close, but I think Duke's going to really surprise people. They're my dark horse, they can really knock somebody off or even slither their way in there somewhere. But that's what I'm going with: Clemson, Georgia Tech, and I got Clemson winning it.
Very nice.
I hate doing that. I hate that I'm going to actually do this. This is fucking stupid. All right. This is stupid. All right. So I'm going to go Clemson, obviously. And then I actually think I talked myself into this while we did this show. This is crap.
What you got?
Well, I think I'm going to take all 4 of those teams out of the running. And put Pitt in there.
Oh, yes. I love it. I love it.
Oh, I can respect that move, man.
And for me, I just think that Pitt's schedule lines up nicely for them to potentially make a run at it, to be in the game. Now, I think Clemson will still win the championship, but I think they will get there. And that's the only reason is that because the Georgia Tech, Louisville, and SMU schedules, I don't think line up nicely. But I think, yeah. So I'm going Clemson and Pitt with Clemson taking it.
Could you imagine? Our baby.
Wait. Okay, we're here. All right, my pick is going to be Clemson versus Georgia Tech. And I got Clemson winning that one.
Nice. Okay.
Hey, some of it,
you might just be like, well, this is when everything went off the rails.
No, I obviously agree with your pick, but I think there's a couple that could.
Yeah.
I think Louisville could do it. Everybody in that section.
Now, okay, I've got 2 questions to pose to you both. I wrote them down as we were talking. One, if Clemson, all hell breaks loose and Clemson loses 3 games and gets out of the conference championship, who do you put in if it's not Clemson? What's your championship game without Clemson in it?
Okay. So if I need Clemson to lose 3 of them, I'm going to have them losing to Georgia Tech and Louisville, and then they need to lose 1 more. So either it'd be Duke or SMU most likely. I mean, maybe you lose to North Carolina or Boston College just for the heck of it.
Well, don't forget that they have. They have that, but they also have the non-con stuff doesn't really matter when it comes to the conference championship.
Conference, but I mean that could be again SMU, Duke, Louisville,
or whatever the losses have to be to make it so Clemson is not in the playoff. Whether it be you lose to Louisville, but Louisville has you at the tiebreak or something like that.
I'm going Louisville, Georgia Tech. Because Louisville would have to beat them, that's going to set them up pretty well.
And So I would probably have to agree with Louisville, and I'm going to still stick with Pitt being in the championship in that regard, especially in that regard. So I think Louisville would be the team that knocks them off, potentially Georgia Tech. But yeah, I'm going to do Louisville and Pitt. I'm just all in on Pitt,
You're
apparently.
hammering it, buddy.
I love it. I love the Pitt. I love the Pitt love here. I think they're going to be really good. If in that scenario, I would have to go Georgia Tech and Louisville just because. I mean, for Georgia Tech, if they could get past Clemson, that clears the path for them really well. And then
Really easily,
I would assume that Louisville would be in a pretty good position
Yeah.
as well. And
Yeah.
I'm still expecting Miami to trip along the way.
And I
am too as well.
Look out for Duke. That's mine. I'm standing on.
Yeah.
Watch out for Duke.
Now, second question is really something I already probably know y'all's answer to. Do you think there is a quarterback in the ACC that can contend for the Heisman?
Kate Club,
That will not can, but will be by the end of season in the top 5 in Heisman voting.
Klubnik should be there. If he has a season, he leads them to the playoffs. That's a guy that should be in the race for the Heisman. Dark horse would be Haynes King if he has a great year.
See, that's where I was going. I think Haynes King might have a freaking season. If Carson Beck is in the top 5, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. I will stop. I might just boycott college football for a little while.
Oh man,
could you imagine if he goes off and gets Carson Beck?
If he goes off and he has a solid season like he did in 23 with that talent that's at Miami, that's trouble. That's trouble for the conference right there.
Yeah. Haynes King, I mean, for sure, like, if Georgia Tech's in the playoff, you could see Haynes King in the race for sure because he's going to be a big part of that team. If SMU managed to enter the playoff race, like, that's going to be pretty tough for them to do. That requires them winning a lot of big games. That would definitely take a huge effort from Kevin Jennings, so he would be in that race as well. And what a redemption story that would be if he got there after how it ended last year.
That'd be amazing.
You can look at it here like Louisville, kind of the same thing. Like I think it's a little bit more complimentary Louisville, so maybe you see less of a chance for Miller Boss. But like for Duke, like Darian Mensah, if Duke has a big year, you could see him entering the race. So it's kind of all about like how the team does, but. Yeah, there's definitely some quarterbacks here that have the upside to end up in that top 5.
Yeah, I agree. Completely.
Good question. I like it.
And then to wrap it up here, how many playoff teams in the ACC? And then who makes it?
Probably. I think you could see 3.
Okay.
I think the 2 in the conference championship game. If it is Georgia Tech. So I'm going to go off my assumptions here. Georgia Tech, the way their schedule sets up, and if they maybe beat Clemson in the regular season, lose to Clemson the ACC title, and then Miami or one of those teams lurking outside. Because I still think Miami's really talented. I just I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be tight, but I think they'll be right on that edge of playoff team and kind of like what we saw last year with them. So I think they'll sneak in this season.
So if what my prediction comes true, it's going to be 2. And the reason I say that is that I think that Pitt will not climb high enough in the rankings to survive a championship loss. And that way, that third team that Brendan was just mentioning, that will give them the opportunity to jump into the mix for the playoff. Which I think that Brendan is right. It'll probably be Miami sitting there lurking. If they aren't in the playoff, they will be lurking. Or if they're not in the ACC championship game, then I expect Miami to be lurking there, waiting for their opportunity for a loss from somebody.
Last thing on Miami is I think they're going to win early with the talent that they have. I think they'll win. I think they're winning against Notre Dame. USF, Florida could probably be a win if Lagway is hurt. Like I know there's been rumors and stuff. He's not as bad as what they say, but that's still a concern for me. And then after that, if they'll probably drop a couple of games just because that's what Miami does. You lose to Louisville, you lose to SMU, or one off, and it knocks you kind of back. I think they're sitting there waiting, but they don't play in the conference championship game. They're gonna wait to just kind of backdoor themselves. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, and they need to see for the ACC, like they need to see Miami pick off some of those
Absolutely.
games. They need the rest of their teams to also win some big games. Like they need to win some of these non-conference games, because last year Miami only had 2 losses, and they were behind a whole logjam of 3-loss SEC teams. So they did not, despite their brand name, they did not get the respect from the playoff committee. So that's going to be a huge key for the ACC. And the Notre Dame game is definitely valuable for that reason. If they can pick up that win against Notre Dame, they could lose 2 ACC games. And, obviously the Florida game is also more valuable than what it was last year, because Florida has higher expectations. So you look at that and you think, they could maybe survive 2 ACC losses and manage to make their way in, where last year they were left out. But for me, I'm not as optimistic. Georgia Tech needs to win either that Clemson or Georgia game in the regular season in order to make the playoff, while taking that ACC championship loss. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get to that level. I see them with 3 losses to Clemson twice and Georgia once to be just on the outside. So I just have Clemson making the playoff, but at least Clemson does end up with a top 4 seed.
Yeah. I think there's a range of possibilities. I could definitely see that going down as they only get 1, and I think the fan bases would be pretty upset again if that happens. But it's definitely in the realm of possibility. Clemson might be carrying the water for this program again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the show. That's our ACC breakdown. Had a lot of fun. Went a while. Guys, let them know where they can find you and any fun upcoming projects you got going on.
Yeah, so obviously you can find us at YouTube at Gridiron Uncensored, Facebook Gridiron Uncensored, and then on Twitter at Kicking It with the Grid. Right? That's the tag, right? Kicking It with the Grid. Yeah. And then also this season, once the season gets going, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, we'll be live doing our live reaction shows on YouTube, Twitter, and wherever else, and Facebook Live as well.
Yeah, I mean,
did I miss anything, Brendan?
We always like to talk football, and really very active on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We'd love to have you.
Very awesome. Great having you guys on the show. Thanks for joining us. And of course, don't forget about us as well. We are Updog Sports Talk. Obviously, if you're finding the show for the first time, you can find us on X as well. We are also very active on there, but we're also, here on YouTube and everywhere else that you get your podcast. I know my colleague Matt usually tries to list out all the places and he forgets half of them. I'm not even going to try. We're going to sign off there. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a good week.